After days of stops and starts, the U.S. Senate today moved toward giving Ukraine, Israel, and other allies billions in aid. It's a major step, though far from the final one. And it's all unfolding as Ukraine is running out of supplies and time to fend off Russia's advances. Here to break it all down are Lisa Desjardins, Laura Barone-Lopez, and Nick Schifrin. With a welcome to all three of you. Lisa, where do things stand on the Hill right now?
All right, so to remind people, where we had this situation was that Senate Republicans and House Republicans had demanded and pushed for this border security and also national security foreign aid bill together. Then they decided they were going to block that, Senate Republicans. So Democrats said, okay, we'll take out the border portion, which you say you can't agree to. Then Senate Republicans spent a day blocking also the bill with that portion stripped out, as they said they wanted. Now, this morning, Senate Republicans in a private meeting couldn't figure out what they wanted to do. At lunchtime, a group of 17 Senate Republicans broke with the rest of their party, led by Mitch McConnell, and they voted to advance that national security bill over the key Senate hurdle. 67 votes in the end for getting over this obstacle. Let's look at what is in that bill that is now moving in the Senate. It is a $95 billion bill total. Prominently $60 billion in aid to Ukraine. That's the highest dollar figure. $14 billion for Israel, $9 billion for humanitarian aid for several places, including Gaza. It also does include fentanyl sanctions and penalties for some foreign powers and entities. But what is important here is that this is now a bill that has the votes to make it through the Senate. We don't know when it will because, of course, the Senate takes its time. But sometime in the next few days, by early next week, it looks like this bill will clear the Senate.
So sufficient votes in the Senate, but what happens in the House? Is House Speaker Mike Johnson amenable to any of this?
That's an incredibly huge question. We don't know. I have been told by Senator Rick Scott and others that Johnson has told them he would like this bill separated out into different pieces. His office says, no, that's not exactly where they are. This will be a test for Mike Johnson. And in fact, if he brings this bill up in a bipartisan form, it could risk his speakership because we know the hard right has a problem with bipartisan bills. So there will be a test for him coming soon.
And Laura, remind us how we got here.
Well, when we go back all the way to the fall, Jeff, essentially President Biden introduced this national security package with the border security in it because Republicans asked for that. Then Republicans wanted more. They wanted real substantive changes to immigration policy and asylum policy. And the White House came to the negotiating table, albeit some Democrats think they came a little bit too late in December, and they conceded a lot, more than any prior administration, Democratic administration, has before. Typically, Democrats ask for a pathway to citizenship for Dreamers in exchange for giving Republicans more on border security. This one didn't have that. Then Donald Trump entered the chat, the former president, and he tweeted in, Truth Socialed on January 17th that he didn't think there should be a border deal unless Republicans could get everything. And then again, just this week, in addition to repeating over and over that this bill was a gift to Democrats and a death wish for the Republican Party, I spoke to Senator Chris Coons of Delaware today, a close Biden ally, who said that he was talking to a lot of GOP senators in recent days who said that they were getting phone calls from Donald Trump saying that, why are you trying to help Joe Biden? I need this issue to get elected. Senator James Lankford also repeated this, essentially saying that he was intimidated by a conservative commentator saying that if Lankford supported and moved this bill forward, that he would be destroyed.
So how is President Biden then responding to the demise of this border deal and more Ukraine funding, which is a key priority of his?
So the White House is using those facts in the timeline I just laid out to essentially cudgel the GOP and say that they are choosing the former president over Border Patrol. They're also citing that the Border Patrol labor union has endorsed the border deal that they struck with Republicans. Senator Chris Coons also told me that he thinks that Biden should go down, that the president should go down to the border, have the bill in hand, wave it around, and say that he was willing to sign it. And other Democrats have said that they think that the president should really strike that contrast, making clear that he was willing to buck some progressives in his own party to get this bill over the finish line and sign it. But as for Ukraine, Jeff, National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby said that the president is not giving up on trying to get some GOP support for this.
The president believes that support for Ukraine is critical, particularly right now, as Russia continues to try to hit their defense industrial base, continue to hit their units on that battlefront from east to south. It's vital. And he's confident that, and based on the meetings he's had with leaders on Capitol Hill and the discussions he's had, certainly over recent weeks, that, again, the leadership, even on the House side, the leadership is solidly in support of supporting Ukraine.
So Democratic Hill sources have told me that they've asked the White House if there's anything that the president can do on his own, solo, outside of Congress to get aid for Ukraine. I asked John Kirby about that, and he didn't answer, essentially saying that those are private conversations and that the president is going to continue talking to leadership on the Hill and Republicans on the Hill. But some Democrats also said that if the president were even to take solo action to help Ukraine, they think that there might be some options there. But even if he does, it won't be at the scale that Ukraine needs.
And Nick, Ukrainian officials say the lack of funding has real consequences for Ukrainian lives on the battlefield and Kyiv's ability to hold off Russian advances.
And it's already seen on the front line right now. Ukraine failed in its own goals for the counteroffensive last year. It has begun to ration on the front line this year because of the lack of U.S. military support. And it knows as long as this debate goes on, it will continue to have to ration. And that means that Russian artillery up and down the front is already outnumbering Ukraine, and Ukraine's about to lose control of a major city in the east called Avdiivka. And as dire as that sounds, Jeff, there's an even bigger problem, because U.S. officials believe that as this delay continues, Ukraine will begin to run out of air defense. And what that means is Ukraine's ability to shoot down Russian drones, Russian missiles that are currently attacking Ukrainian critical infrastructure. That is to keep the power going, the lights on in Ukraine. In addition to that, it's Ukrainian air defense that prevents Russian jets from being able to fly over Ukrainian territory, not only the front, but even in western Ukraine. And so the bottom line is it's hard to imagine Ukraine holding on to its own territory today, let alone trying to recapture some of that 20% of territory that Russia occupies right now. And as for a plan B that Laura was talking about, absolutely, there certainly are discussions about what could come next. But the bottom line, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan yesterday said, quote, there is no alternative to these funds that provide ammunition, that go to Ukraine immediately, within weeks. That is what Ukraine needs, and right now it's not getting it, whether along the front or in air defense.
Nick Schifrin, Laura Barón Lopez, and Lisa Desjardins, our thanks to all three of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.